What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. Welcome back to another edition of the Transfer View. And it looks like Liam Delap has made his decision. It looks like Liam Delap has chosen to join Chelsea, or at the very least is leaning towards joining Chelsea over Manchester United. And that means that we're looking for someone else. That means possibly Manchester United will need to look towards another striker target. The critical option and the critical decision involved in all of this, Champions League football. Because Chelsea are playing in the Champions League next season, Delap is leaning towards playing for them. Of course, Manchester United not playing in Europe at all, let alone the Champions League, after finishing 15th in the league, in addition to bottling that Europa League final. Therefore, United, they've got to look for someone else. Seemingly, they have to do. So we're going to talk about it. Be sure to smash the like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. I can already see lots of people getting involved in the chat. Stephanie Griffiths in there says, good morning, Owen. Solo. Yes, it's a solo-in. Danny Luciano says, let's get to a quick 100 likes. Yes, let's get to a quick 100 likes. Court Star says, big up my fellow Jamaican, Mr. Owen. Well, you know, I mean, basically.
You better watch out because we are come for you.
So, basically.
A Jamaican, you look man. I'm a Jamaican.
That's me. Yeah, that's basically me. So, yeah, that's it's all good, isn't it, really? So, yes, indeed. So if you haven't already, click the like button. We've got a lot to discuss this morning. We're going to also be talking about Jadon Sancho. What happens with Jadon Sancho? What is happening with the future of Jadon Sancho? Of course, after last night, Chelsea won the Europa Conference League, and he actually scored one of the goals in the final. Does that mean that maybe Chelsea are going to pay up? Does that mean that was his last thing he's done in a Chelsea shirt before he comes back to Manchester United this summer? They pay us £5 million, and then we look to offload him in the summer. There's lots to discuss this morning. Plus, I mean, I'm curious to see what you guys have to say about yesterday's result. There was a lot of discussion and talk about it yesterday of, like it always is with friendlies, it doesn't matter, it's not that important, it's just a cash grab. Why are people doing fake outrage? And others said, look, it's not fake outrage at all. It's not fake outrage, because I'm actually really annoyed because the starting team, for at least for the first half hour, was a strong team. And then after that, yes, the kids and all that kind of stuff. But still, it kind of just sums us up. It just sums us up, doesn't it? So, yes, we got plenty to discuss this morning. So, yes, if you haven't already, click the like button. Be sure to subscribe, all that fun stuff. Let's get into the Super Chat straight away. This Bilal guy's back again, guys. If you saw him on the, was it yesterday? Was it yesterday or was it at the weekend? I think it was. Yeah, I mean, I think he got banned at the weekend. So, yeah, mods will do their thing. Mods do their thing when it comes to that. And big up Ethan is the latest gifted one UV membership. So big up to Ethan for gifting that membership, and big up to, I think it was Jamaicana, who is the beneficiary of that membership. Yes. Let's get straight into the news. Let's begin with this Liam Delap news. And let's talk about how seemingly he's chosen to join Chelsea over Manchester United, or at least the very least, that's where he's leaning towards. It's not official or anything like that just yet, but this is where he's leaning towards. So Ben Jacobs was the first to report this yesterday, along with Alex Crook from TalkSport, saying Chelsea are closing in on a move for Liam Delap after positive talks. Now, as for why Delap seemingly is leaning towards Chelsea instead of Manchester United, that's because Manchester United's lack of European football has weakened their position. Newcastle and Everton have also held talks, but Delap is now leaning towards Chelsea. This was the same thing that Alex Crook said. As I mentioned, it was a sort of article co-written by them both. So Alex Crook said the same thing. Chelsea are closing in on a move for Liam Delap. They now appear to be firmly in the box seat. Lack of Champions League football is a big negative for Manchester United. As for when we're just going to get this decision all together, it was from Paul Hurst from The Times suggesting that Manchester United expect to find out next week if they have been successful in their bid to sign Liam Delap. United and Chelsea are the two likeliest destinations for the striker. However, as was being reported, he now seemingly is leaning towards Chelsea. Fabrizio Romano said something similar, saying Chelsea and Manchester United keeping system. I love the Fabrizio terms, keeping system. Obviously you get the classic, here we go, and you get, never in doubt. Positive. There's all the transfer buzzwords. Chelsea and Manchester United keep insisting on Liam Delap. Delap is the priority for Chelsea. Then being able to offer European football is crucial, as Manchester United cannot. So it would appear, wouldn't it? It would appear, as the headline says right there, Liam Delap has chosen a Chelsea transfer instead of Manchester United. That's where he's going to be leaning towards. Now, this isn't a total shock. This isn't a total shocker because obviously this time last week, it was the day after losing the Europa League final, and going in to that Europa League final, the two signings that we were, it seemed like were not guarantees, but we were most advanced on was obviously the Matheus Cunha one and this Liam Delap one. And there was a difference between the two. With the Cunha one, Cunha doesn't care if Man United aren't in the Champions League. Cunha still thinks Manchester United's a big club. He's been sold on the project. He wants to join Manchester United irrespective of what happens in that Europa League final. So he doesn't care. Man United are going to be getting Cunha regardless. So that one we never really worried about. With Delap, it was, well, there are a lot of clubs in for Liam Delap, and Manchester United consider themselves to be leading the race. That's what it was like a week ago. But if they don't win the Europa League and therefore are not in the Champions League, Chelsea, they are in the Champions League. And on top of that, they won a European trophy last night. Granted, it's the Europa Conference League, but it's still something. And there's an air of positivity around Chelsea at the moment. For all of the, the bad seasons they've had for the last however many seasons, and all of the mocking of Clear Lake and Todd Boehly, and I've done it, and their shotgun, scattergun transfer policy and approach, and the contracts that are 10 and 11 years, there is this narrative surrounding Chelsea right now, isn't there, that finally they're getting things right, or maybe Clear Lake have got their act together and they know what they're doing. They've got the youngest squad in the Premier League, and despite having the youngest squad in the Premier League, they managed to qualify for the Champions League, and they're not the Chelsea of old, certainly the Chelsea that you would associate of 10, 15 years ago, but maybe they're going back in that direction. Meanwhile, you've got Manchester United, where not in the Champions League. We just lost to a team that was together for like 2-3 days. And this is only the second ever game that the Asian All-Stars have ever had. The other one was in 2014. They lost to Indonesia. Bear in mind, we got to play Hong Kong on Friday. We'll probably lose that one, how things are going. We've had our worst ever Premier League season ever. We bottled a Europa League final by not bothering to show up against Spurs, who are by definition, worst team that is going to be in the Premier League next season. They were 17th. Shocking. We lost to them not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times this season. So it's tough. It's tough to sell that project. How can you? How can you sell that project? It's a lot of faith. We're all in it at the moment, aren't we? We're all in the same position. We've been talking about, believing in next season and believing, and what gives you the thought that it's all going to be okay. And we're largely into that faith position. And I think that's going to be a case, isn't it? That's going to be a case with anyone we try to sign to, which is how can you convince whoever you're trying to sign that it's going to be turned around, and it's going to be largely sort of lip service, isn't it? Well, last season was a bad season, and usually we would have done it with money, but we're not going to do it this time around because we don't really have that money to spend. And also we shouldn't, because that's how you end up with a wage structure that, we've been trying to rectify and fix over the last couple of years by moving on to some of these higher earning players, which we'll get to in a bit. So this might be this might be a bit of a struggle that we do have. Now, there will be some that will be like, good. Didn't want Liam Delap anyway. You know, I wish I had the button, but don't care. I wasn't sold on that. We need more. We need better. If he's going to go to Chelsea, then he might not even be their number one striker. You got Nicholas Jackson, who, look, I know he scored last night, but God, he's shit. Flex and myself watched that game on the Football Flex. Scan and subscribe right there. I know he scored goals this season, but he's rubbish. That one last night when he was through on goal, you know, he's through on goal. He does the heaviest touch ever, and I think he pulled his hamstring running after the ball. And then the goal which he scored was all Cole Palmer. You know, Cole Palmer turns, puts the ball in the box, it hits him on the chest. Yeah. But look, he's probably better than Rasmus Højlund, you know. So we still need to get a striker. We still need to get a striker regardless. And that really does move on, doesn't it? To then who do we get? What striker do Manchester United get this summer? I mean, and I'm really interested to know in the chat who you would like Manchester United to be looking for, realistically, obviously, because there's a category of striker because of the season that we've had and because of what happened over a week ago now with the Europa League final, not getting into the Champions League. There's this category of striker that we just can't go after, and we're not going to be involved in. You know, for that chatter about Victor Gyökeres, that chatter about Benjamin Šeško, that chatter about Etatike. I'll get there in the end. All of those players, we're not going to be going for. You know, Osimhen, we can't afford him, and also, you know, we're not going to have those. You know, it's difficult, isn't it? Like, really, it's really tough because what we have also noticed that, like, and I don't know if you've been sort of doing this as a Manchester United fan as well, that when some names have been coming up the last few days of, you know, like, well, Florian Wirtz, he's going to be going to Liverpool. As United fans, or I speak for myself, I'm like not even outraged, if that makes sense, or not even like, why aren't we going for those kind of players? Because we're just so far removed from that, aren't we? We're so far removed from being able to going after that top level of players that it's just like, it's not even a thing. Like in years gone by, if Liverpool had signed a player like that or whoever, we'd be like, damn, why aren't we going for those kind of players when we could have got that person. We could have got that. Now the gap's so large that we're like, we can't go after them. So that's why when the Gyökeres thing, the moment the full-time whistle went in the Europa League last week, it was like, right, we're not getting Gyökeres because he's got all of the big clubs in Europe going after him and he wants to play Champions League football. So that's out. I mean, Šeško, the Premier League clubs are interested. Arsenal have been interested in him for the longest time. Chelsea seemingly might be interested. And who's to say also with Chelsea, this is the other part of it, just because they've signed Liam Delap, I still expect them possibly to get another striker this summer too. I wouldn't be shocked if they get the backup striker or the young striker in Delap and maybe get someone that's a little bit more experienced because they're in the Champions League and they might, Nicholas Jackson, they might be ruthless with him and just decide to move him on. As I said, Arsenal looking for a striker, Liverpool looking for a striker, Newcastle, maybe somewhat of a backup striker that they're looking for. They've got Isak, but Callum Wilson's going. So now I think we're into this territory where that striker that we need to get, because we need one, minimum one, don't we? I think there's a very strong argument for needing two. And also, do we move on Rasmus Højlund because he's not good enough? So do we two, maybe even more than that? Who will that be? Who will that be? And Flex and myself were sort of talking about this just as we finished on the Football Flex last night, sort of saying, like, realistically, what striker are we going to get? Who are we going to get? And we kind of came to the conclusion that it's going to end up being someone from like Serie A, La Liga that isn't like a top level striker. They're like a mid-table club there, and we're taking a bit of a risk. I mean, this is when these, people that are in charge at Manchester United, Jason Wilcox, Christopher Vival, Omar Barada, look, they have failed over and over and over again over the last 12 months, haven't they? For a lot of things. Now, earn your money. Earn your money, because I really don't know. I really don't know who that would be. I don't. I mean, obviously, I know that people would say, this is good. Go get Mateta. And I've been beating the Mateta drum for a while here on the channel. So much so that I remember when we were first linked with him, and we had the nerve as fans to scoff, from Chelsea. We're going to get Mateta from Chelsea. Oh. And then next thing you know, they win the FA Cup. He's involved in the goal. And it's like, he's good, actually. Yeah. We'll have Mateta. Yeah. But obviously, like I mentioned, they won the FA Cup. They're in the Europa League. There really is no real reason for a lot of those Crystal Palace players to leave this summer now. I saw yesterday, I think Oliver Glasner, what did he say? He was like 90% going to be the manager of Palace next season. I suppose it depends if the sort of European vultures decide to try and strip Crystal Palace of their team, which is always the case with a smaller team that gets some success. So people could go after him. Mateta, I think, does he have a year left on his contract? So, possible. But if I was Mateta, if I was Eze, I know that Gehi's been linked to a move to Newcastle. But if I was all of those names, I'd be like, well, actually, we've just won the FA Cup. We've got a really good coach in Oliver Glasner. We're in the Europa League. Palace are in Europe for the first time ever. If there was ever a time to give yourself an extra year at that club, it would be now. I mean, I know all of those years of every single summer, Wilfried Zaha looked like he was going to leave Palace, and then he never did. Until eventually when he did leave, it was like, it's a bit too late. Doesn't really go to anywhere massive. But now I think a lot of those players would be like, actually, we'll give it, we'll give it a year there. So I think getting people from Palace will be tough. So, yeah, I mean, and then this is maybe where the football scholars might know better than I, or the people that watch a lot of European football will know better than I. But I'm looking at the market now and going, right, where are those market opportunities for whoever could be the next striker target? And I'm not sure. I mean, you would hope, this is Manchester United, but you would hope that, as Ruben said yesterday prior to the game, Manchester United have been working on these transfer plans for months. They've had plans, they've planned for every eventuality, with Champions League, without Champions League. If they don't get one target, if they don't get, another one, and they'll move on. We'll see. Maybe they do go for, we're getting Cunha. Maybe Mbeumo becomes a bit more, Mbeumo, I'll get the pronunciation right eventually by the time he moves to Newcastle. Mbeumo, maybe they, try and get him and be like, we'll use him kind of as a striker and we'll go for another 10. I don't know. I really don't know. Jojo says there, Wissa, maybe they get him. Wissa from Brentford too, but then are they going to sell two big players in one summer? That's difficult. We're looking at Premier League proven after signing Cunha, going after Delap. So is there another Premier League player that they might go after? Is that again where they do just see if a Mateta's interested, or they do go to another Premier League club? Or I don't know. I really don't know. So whilst I'm not surprised with this Delap one, because I would have been, if I'm being genuinely honest here, if I'm being genuinely honest, I would have been, had we signed Delap, and look, you never know, things could still turn around. But I think the only thing that we could offer him that Chelsea couldn't is maybe we could say, look, you'll be like probably our number one striker, but definitely if we don't sign another one, and you never know, but you'll be playing a lot. You'll be playing very consistently, week in and week out near enough. Chelsea, you might not, but he might think it. Well, I'll take my chances. If it's me versus Jackson at Chelsea, I'll back myself playing in the Champions League too. So, yeah, and because again, watching Nicholas Jackson play yesterday, if it Liam Delap would like, absolutely, I fancy my chances for starting most weeks. And on top of that, it's also the people you're playing with too. He might feel that he's going to get a lot of chances at Chelsea because Cole Palmer will make a million chances for him in that team. Look at last night. He picked that game up by the scruff of the neck, created two. He was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So, yeah, this looks like Delap is leaning towards the Chelsea one. And seemingly, according to the reports yesterday, we'll find out next week. He wants the decision made before, is it the under 20? What is it? The under 21? Is it Euros? Under 21 Euros? Yes, the under 21 European Championship, because he's involved in that with England. And that begins on the 11th of June. So we're really looking at the next, 12, 13 days that this one seemingly will get wrapped up. At the very least, we'll get an indication as to where he's going. And at the moment, it looks like Chelsea. Of course, if there's any updates or developments on that, we'll let you know in the future. But as of right now, it looks like Manchester United are going to miss out on Liam Delap. We've got over 1,100 people watching. We're currently at nearly 250 likes. Let's see if we can get 500 this morning, guys, on the solo and show. Yes, and just so we can celebrate something positive, I suppose, because I've been trying the last few days. I've been trying to get the positivity going. Then we had the match yesterday, and also then this Delap transfer news. So, but we just got to shake it off, guys. Yeah, shake it off. Click the like button, and just try and manifest something. Maybe, perhaps. Catch a Deal says, to be honest, this manager will be sacked. We're wasting time. Well, certainly it's not going to be over the summer, is it? That one thing's for certain. As much as there was some debates, and there was some wondering if Ineos just might blow the whole thing up and go in a different direction. Clearly, that's not the intention. And that's not the plan, as was made very clear in the days after. I still have my position or stance hasn't really changed post Europa League final. I spoke about it after the Europa League final that I do feel like we're heading down an inevitable path. I look at Ineos and say, you've got to do something now that we just haven't seen you do in the 18 months or so that you've been here, which is competence and get decisions right, really. I mean, it's quite remarkable, isn't it, that the amount of decisions that they've got wrong. And look, and they're open about it, said they've made mistakes, but they haven't made many many decisions that would be deemed as successes. So, yeah. So Ruben's not going to go anywhere. They're sticking with him. They're going to give him this summer window. They're going to bring in players, not necessarily of that. They're just getting players that are going to be they're completely suited to Ruben's system, but multifunctional players that can play in Ruben's 3-4-3, but also in other systems if things go wrong. Because I don't think they're being that narrow-sighted with it. But there's the work to do is just unbelievable. And for now, as for who we're looking at for this new striker target, we'll see, because it must happen in the next couple of days. Harsh says, we can't spend heavy until we offload Garnacho, Rashford and Anthony. Well, this is where, again, I look at Ineos and things get interesting now, because talk is cheap. I don't know if you guys saw the interview, but yesterday prior to the game in Kuala Lumpur, MUTV did this interview with Omar Barada, the CEO. And look, it was a good interview and he spoke well. But I think what we're finding at Manchester United at the moment, particularly in this Ineos era. There are a lot of people at Manchester United that talk a good game. There really are. Omar Barada talks a really good game. Sir Jim Ratcliffe talks a good game. Ruben Amorim talks a good game. But ultimately, talk is cheap. You have to back it up with action, and you have to back it up with results and performances. And we've had none of that. No action, no results, no performances. So, talk is cheap. It's great to say the good days are coming back, because Omar Barada yesterday echoed of what Ruben said and said it was a very good speech and the good days are returning. Prove it. We've the entire Manchester United fan base has heard a lot of lip service for a long time. Now it's time to start backing it up by doing something. So, talk is cheap when it comes to that. And when it comes to Anthony, just briefly, we'll talk about Anthony, then we'll move on to Jadon Sancho. Anthony last night, I think a lot of people tuned into that Europa Conference League final to see, right, I know I did, see this. All right, I've heard all of this stuff, but Anthony Dos Santos, remontada at Real Betis, is a different player. His confidence, he's happy. Pellegrini said he wanted revenge when he arrived in Seville to play for Betis, scored the goals this season, got assists, been a driving force for them in the Europa Conference League, a driving force for them to get sixth in La Liga. And then what happened last night? Same Anthony from Manchester United. With criminality. He struggled. he struggled. And then every time he picked up the ball, we saw Manchester United Anthony cut inside, shoot over the bar. Towards the end of the match, got in a fight with Enzo Fernandez. Yeah, very quiet. Got pocketed by Cucurella. I mean, that is criminal. It was the same, wasn't it? It was the same Anthony. I watched that game last night. Where that's the player I know. That's the player I know. Yes, and it kind of he spoke openly about the pressure at Manchester United, and it's difficult to play under the pressure. Blah blah blah. When actually the Manchester United fans were watching, when they were watching again, pressure. The Manchester United in him came out. The pressure got him, and it's like the phrase, isn't it? If a tree falls in a forest when nobody's watching, does it make any sound? If a player scores goals and gets assists and does performances when they're not at Manchester United, does it even really matter? To us, no, it doesn't. It doesn't. Now, the one positive when it comes to the game last night, I think actually, is the Jadon Sancho goal. I saw this sort of narrative that was, he had to be him. Sancho had to score. I can't believe Sancho. He had to bloody score in the final. Good. I looked at that as nothing but a good thing last night for two reasons. One, Chelsea genuinely might keep him now. It felt like in the last few sort of weeks, didn't it? Of Chelsea, they're not really feeling that Jadon Sancho thing. You know what I mean? They're not really feeling that. I mean, just how bad does it have to be that they'll give us 5 million to take him back? Like I used the analogy yesterday on the Match View. That is like, someone kidnapping someone, and instead of like the people having to pay the ransom to the kidnappers are having to pay the ransom for the people to take him back. But we don't want to have him anymore. That would be so embarrassing. so embarrassing. And it felt like over the last few weeks, certainly that's where Chelsea were leaning towards. Got in the Champions League. Sancho hadn't really turned up trees this season. Had a good start, but then sort of faded off, which is the pattern of Sancho in recent years. Is a good start and then nothing really else comes of it. But last night he scored the goal. The Chelsea fans, because he scored in the European final, they have a bit of an affinity towards him. Maybe Enzo Maresca goes, actually, yeah, I love Yeah, okay. Maybe I do want him. Maybe we will keep him. Yeah, maybe we will. Maybe we will keep him. £25 billion. So that one might happen. If it doesn't happen, and Chelsea will pay you £5 million to take him back, he's still going to leave. I really don't foresee a scenario where it's unbelievable. He's playing, and Ruben, he didn't have a problem with Ruben Amorim, so he's playing under Ruben now, and that's what it's going to be. I don't see that. I really, really don't. And one thing I really don't want to see, if he does come back and is involved in preseason training, I really don't want to see those doing the hypothetical. Well, if Ruben can get something out of him, if Ruben can get something out of him, then maybe he can maybe he can play in a Ruben system. No. I know we've been hurt, and I know that we're maybe concussed after a crazy year. We've taken a lot of shots to the head this year, so I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of us are concussed. We are not going down that path again. We're not. We're just not. And it's the same with all of these players that are coming back. Sancho, Rashford, Anthony, etc. No. We're not doing it to ourselves again. We are not going to just keep going back and going back. No. I don't want to hear, as Courtstar says, oh, maybe Sancho in the 10 in preseason, or well, Anthony, maybe do our, well, Rashford, maybe because no maybes. They're all going. Okay, that's it. This summer, Sancho going. If he goes to Chelsea, or if he comes back, he goes somewhere else. Anthony going. Real Betis, I don't think they'll be able to afford him. So somewhere, maybe stay in La Liga. He did well there. So yep, he can stay there, no problem. Who else? Rashford. I mean, even this morning, it looks like that Team Rashford are doing everything they possibly can to link him to a Barcelona move. That's the move he's wanted for ages. If Barcelona actually legitimately were available, was a viable option in January, he would be at Barcelona right now. The reality was that finances, levers, do they even really want him? Well, I've got to go play somewhere because Ruben's going to exile me from the squad. Right, I'll go Villa. I'll go Villa, right, till the end of the season. Then we can work out going to Barca. So, they're pushing that one. So Rashford, he's off as well. Garnacho, Ruben don't fancy him anymore. Had problems with him. He's off. All of those players, they're going. And I think this is when, I think this is where the summer is going to be really interesting, because you look at all of that, you go Sancho, Rashford, Garnacho, Anthony, and you think of the funds that are being raised from that. Surely you can bring in, quality players with that amount of outgoings, plus more that we haven't even spoken about yet. And two of them in Rashford and Garnacho are pure profit. If Rashford goes for £40 million, as I've heard before, you can effectively spend about 3 times that because of the pure profit point of view. So that's like what, 120 million? Garnacho, if he goes for 40, 50, 60 million, whatever it may be, surely that gives us money. And look, and I know there's money we've got to spend anyway on players this summer for people and mistakes that we've made in the past. But surely that is enough. But as we've also said before, I think this summer we're still going to get in probably a similar amount of players as we usually do, 4 or 5. We usually make 4 or 5 summer signings, but that's going to be absolutely dwarfed by the amount of exits that we see this summer. I mean, do them again. You can go, well, it could be Onana, it could be Bayindir. Look at defenders. Lindelof's gone. Who else could possibly go? Or Johnny Evans is gone. You never know with Harry Maguire. Got a year left on his contract. I think he'll probably end up staying, but you never know. No, he's got 2 years left. They did the option a year, didn't they? I think. Whatever. But Maguire, maybe. Then you go into, I know people are going to bring up Luke Shaw. I would like him to leave. But is he really going to leave? Is he really? I mean, season ended, he's disappeared. A bit of a tight calf. I'll believe that one when I see it. But I'll take him off that list because again, I'll believe it when I see it. Midfielders, Casemiro. What other midfielders could possibly leave this season? I see again. I would still get rid of Mason Mount, but he's not. I don't think he is. Then you get into Garnacho, Rashford, Anthony, maybe Højlund there. That's 10. And only a couple of them are like, contracts expiring. So surely there's significant funds. Surely there is significant funds to be raised there. And look, even if we can't replace all of those positions, I'd rather just get them out. I'd rather just get them out of the door, and then we can figure the rest out later on. Because that seemingly has been 3/4 of the battle for us. It's not as if we struggle with actually being able to sign players. We struggle being able to sign players that actually are a success at Manchester United. But what we do really struggle with is moving players on. And actually, some of these other players' successes upon leaving Manchester United, so even to an extent, Sancho, who won a trophy. Obviously, Anthony done well at Real Betis in the second half of the season. Scott McTominay, for goodness sake, won Serie A player of the season. Even Wan-Bissaka, I know that West Ham struggled this season, but I think he got player of the year at West Ham. And I still don't regret that that exit because I'm a big fan of Mazraoui. But these players that have had successes moving on, I think that's actually done us a favor, because now I think the perception is, particularly if you're a buying club looking to buy a player from Manchester United, you would now look at these players and be like, I know they're shit at United, but maybe it's just United. Maybe it's just the pressure of United. They're so badly run and it's very toxic there. Actually, if we can get that player out of that environment and put it into a well-run club, they'll do well. And to be honest, a lot of those that we spoke about that, I don't doubt. It shouldn't really be too much of a shock with Scott McTominay that he's done well this season, because even in the bad Manchester United environment, he still did well. Like last season, he scored big goals for us. Every single coach that's been in since Scott McTominay made his senior debut for United has all played him. They all have, whether it was Jose, whether it was Ollie, whether it was Ten Hag, whoever, they all played Scott McTominay for a reason, because he's not that bad of a player. He works hard. Maybe some technical, the technical ability isn't there, but as we've seen with Napoli this season, he scored goals. You put him higher up the pitch. Even Ten Hag figured this one out. Done all right. So I think that some of those players actually won't actually struggle too much, hopefully, to move them on, because they might look at it and go, no, it's United's the problem. It's not the players. That's the problem. So we shall see. But for Jadon Sancho, maybe I think that Chelsea one might be a little bit more on after what happened yesterday. If it's not, look, we still benefit. We get 5 million and he's going to go in the summer. I just don't see any situation where he is reintegrated into the team. He might play in a couple of preseason games if it's not happened that quickly, a bit like he did last summer. But I think he's been definitely earmarked to have, he was going to either already have exited or he's going to be a fundraising player, I think. So I don't think we have to worry about that one too much. We've got close to 1,200 people watching. We're nearly at 350 likes. Let's see if we can get to 500. As I mentioned, guys, at least half of you can click the like button. So if you haven't already clicked the like button, also be sure to subscribe. As you can see in the top right-hand corner there, look at that. What's that? Less than 110. Just over 100 away from 194,000. It's going to be a big summer. As we've spoken about this morning, it's going to be a massive summer for exits, for incomings, pre-season. Of course, us here at United View, I would, if I can be so boastful and so arrogant, I would say no one does pre-season like United View. It's one of the things we're very much known for, our preseason tours and the content you get on preseason tours, whether obviously it's the matches, whether it's behind the scenes stuff, whether it's the travel vlogs, all of it, interviews. Certainly it's something we've become quite well known for here at United View. So yes, you'll want to catch all of that. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, click the notification bell, because upload schedules in the summer, they go out the window here. Absolutely, they go out the window, because you have to go live at a drop of a hat, because transfers happen. Once the guys are over in the US, the uploads happen at crazy times. It's just mad. You know me, I'm locked in. I'm like chained to this desk throughout the summer, and it'll be no different this year. In fact, it will be better. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. And also on the Football Flex, it's going to be a busy summer, because Club World Cup, that'll be going on there. Plus transfers. This weekend, we're doing a Champions League final watch along on there as well. So a lot of fun stuff happening there. Right. Shall we talk about yesterday? I mean, we won't. We'll just talk about it a little bit. I want to ask you guys a question. About this. Now, if you didn't see yesterday, Manchester United had their first postseason friendly. It was in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. It was Asian All-Stars 1, Manchester United 0. Now, for the first 30 minutes, Manchester United played a very strong team. Only 2 youngsters played in that first 30 minutes. Then after that, substitutions were made. A lot of youngsters came on. Same thing happened at halftime. A lot of youngsters came on. In the second half, they scored and they won the game, and they won the trophy that came with it. I'm not going to be able to get that Manchester United Legacy WWE Championship. I even tried yesterday to try and be like, well, whoever wins this game wins a trophy, so that counts as a trophy, then I can get it. Couldn't even do that. Do you know what I've resorted to? I did this live yesterday on the Football Flex during the Europa Conference League final. I've written an email to maybe some contacts that can maybe get me in touch with certain people at WWE to be like, should we try and do something? Because I can't. Because I was told off. I can't get it. I can't get it. Flex and KG, they said you can't. With Man United being terrible, you just can't. So I've had to send emails. I mean, But naturally, when it comes to this, you get many reactions, don't you? You get the reaction of some going, these guys, look at them. There were senior players, and even the youngsters, they should be more than good enough to beat Asian All-Stars. Some of them won't even be professional footballers, and they were from all over Southeast Asia, I think it was. And, they're not even League 2 standard. Maybe they're even worse. It's just embarrassing. Then there are others. Which are like, look, it's a friendly. It's a friendly. So, and it's not even a preseason friendly. Preseason, there's a bit more about it, because, it's about fitness and players. It's a fresh start, and they should be showing something, trying to impress the manager, blah, blah, blah. That's not what this is. The season's just ended. Shit. All they're thinking about is going on their holidays. It's just money. It's just money. We get 8 million quid for doing this tour. That's the only reason we're doing it, because we've got no money. That's it. And the reality is, it's a bit of everything, isn't it? In the grand scheme of things, does it really matter? Of course not. Of course it does. Like, it doesn't have any impact on us next season, apart from financially. It's just for cash. The players were absolutely checked out. There's no doubt about it. We've already heard, certainly, reports and rumblings of players not wanting to go and being pissed off that they have to. But I would say they've got no right to be pissed off, because let's face it, with some of their performances, they could have made a lot more money this season, but they didn't show up. So who cares? But on top of that, I think some of the outrage, I don't think is fake outrage. And look, some that are going really, really over the top with it, maybe it is. Maybe that is just for the attention. But there is a large element of that. Then, yeah, it's embarrassing. And after an embarrassing season, look, if we'd won the Europa League, or we had finished in, not even the top 4, the top 6, and we lost that game yesterday, no one would give a shit. But it's the added embarrassment on top of already a massive pile of embarrassment. We saw it when we were speaking about it on Monday with the red carpet, and I'm saying about being, we want to be positive and the fans want to look forward, and I think that's the key thing, isn't it? That's the key thing, is that I think all of us fans, we want to look forward. We want to forget that, the season. As Ruben Amorim says, the past now is the past, and all you want to do is look forward to the future. But I think the reason why people were so pissed off yesterday is you can't, it's difficult. You want to look forward and you want to just go, right, the season's over now. But it's just like prodding. It's just a reminder, keep looking back, and there's nothing you can do about it. You've just got to sit through it. So I think that people that were really angry yesterday or really frustrated, I don't think anyone's in the position to be like, oh, you shouldn't be. It doesn't matter. I don't think anyone's in the position to tell anyone that it doesn't matter too much. And I've learned my lesson when it comes to that, because I used to say that all the time with preseason, and I'll probably say it again this coming preseason. And when people get angry at preseason fixtures because we lost, and then you go, look, it doesn't really matter. The results don't matter, but the performances do. And as we've seen over the last couple of seasons, they have been a precursor to really bad seasons. So for those that want to see something, I think they're right to. Now, you could say there's no real logic in expecting to see something yesterday, apart from, well, these players must be better than Asian All-Stars, but these players have been shit all season. And these are games that mattered, let alone games that don't matter and they don't want to be there. Oh my God. You saw that yesterday. It was just a glorified kick the ball around for a bit. But probably the best recommendation I could probably make with them is just maybe don't watch them. Don't watch them. Do yourself. I mean, I have to, but I mean, do yourself maybe a service of just like, just don't bother watching. Don't bother watching. It will only make you angry and upset. There is no positive to come out of that game in terms of pitch performance result. There just won't be. Even if we won, it will be, well, we should be. We're playing Asian All-Stars. We're playing Hong Kong. So that's probably the only sort of the positive you can get. But I think that, maybe some that are going, see, this is why I'm Ruben out. This is why I don't think Ruben Amorim will succeed. KG, I think it was on WJ Barrett yesterday when he went off on WJ Barrett, and WJ Barrett, big up to him, always put super chat in. And so I think it said, I'm done with Onana after this, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. And KG was like, what do you mean after this? After this? So like, if you're not sold on Ruben Amorim because of yesterday's game, my immediate thing would be to push back by going, why yesterday? Surely it would be the things that have really mattered this season. Like yesterday doesn't really have any bearing on whether you'd be backing him or not backing him. And the same goes with players. Like that's not the game or the day to judge, really, is it? So yeah, what it was just extra embarrassment. And I think we're just finding new ways to get embarrassed, basically. And it's more embarrassment after an incredibly embarrassing and poor season. And when it comes to the Friday game, I'm not really expecting much different. Really, I'm not expecting much different. The biggest positive and relief on Friday will be when that game is over, because then it's done. It's done. KG made the analogy yesterday, and it is so true. They haven't even given us enough time to get delusional again, to get delusionally attached or even miss them. They haven't been gone away long enough for us to miss them. And I don't think a lot of people will this summer. But a week after the Europa League final, a few days after our season has ended, it's too soon. It's too soon. to start, we want to be positive, we want to believe, but I don't think that can really, in earnest, kick in until the games have stopped. So I think after Friday, that's when it will be like, okay, right, that positivity can maybe build up a little bit. Maybe that's when it can start again and signings start happening, right? Signings start happening. People start getting through the door. People start moving on. And you can go, right, okay, season's over. The table, the Premier League table, like resets itself, and you go, oh, good, right. 0 points, zero games lost, blah 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 blah. Okay, it's gone. It's in that's fully in the past. It's just a bit too raw. It's a bit too raw at the moment, I think. So yeah, but we've got to do it all again. We've got to do it all again on Friday against Hong Kong. I don't know, and if you ask me, Owen, what you're expecting from it, the answer would be nothing. I mean, what is there to expect? I can't expect a win because we could be Asian All-Stars. So I'm definitely not expecting performance because, again, it's this group of players and they can't be bothered. And yeah, it's purely there for the money, really. So yeah, I think I'm really looking for that. But, well, what we will do is we'll all be in it together. A lot of you guys tuned in yesterday. Like the family that we are, the UV family here and the Manchester United family that we are. We got in there together, and we just get through it, and then it's done. Then it's done, and we don't have to think about Man United playing again for ages. Liam says, could we win a trophy on Friday? I don't think it's a trophy. I mean, otherwise, I'd be really shameless. Imagine that on the third attempt. I go, well, counts as a trophy. So, I don't think so. That was for a little cup. And we couldn't even do that one. So, yeah, there you go. But there you go, guys. That's the transfer. It ended on a bit of a sour note. Hopefully we'll sign players in that, maybe. And we'll find out more with strikers, because that's really, I guess, who do we go after next? I mean, there had been all this talk about doing deals early. The transfer window, the window opens on Sunday, by the way, for 10 days. That first opening of the window is on Sunday, June 1st. So maybe Cunha one gets done by that point. We've already got the here we go, and we've already activated the release clause. So, and he's been given permission to go and have a medical. We haven't heard anything else about that, have we, in the last day or so? But if we get any details or hear any news about a medical happening, or when it's expected that it could be announced or something like that, we'll let you know. And of course, I'll be here. We can cover that. We can go live, all that fun stuff. In addition to that, what have we got coming up here today? We've got What the Devil coming up at 12:30 or 12:45. So be sure to join the guys from United District inside the studio. Tomorrow, we'll have the transfer view as per usual. We'll also have an episode of The Trinity. Yes, it'll be KG, Flex, and myself back with another episode. Actually, I mean, just interestingly, you guys, and then if you're watching this after the fact, let us know in the comments. Last week, we did the Trinity at 4:30. We did the Trinity at 4:30. It was KG, James from the Muppeteers, and myself, but we did it live at 4:30. What would you guys prefer this week? Would you prefer it going out at 7, like it usually does, but that would have to be a pre-record, or would you like maybe possible live? It would have to be at 4:30 because that's our recording time on the Friday. But if you guys would prefer the live 4:30, let us know. People are saying live. Well, yeah, we'll have a look at that. We'll have a look at that. A lot of people saying live. Live is better. 4:30. Hey, well, we'll see. I mean, sometimes it's difficult on a Friday because KG getting back from Best of Enemies can be a nightmare, but we'll see what we can do. We'll see what we can do. I'll throw that one out there. I'll have some words, folks. I'll have some words, and then we can confirm that tomorrow morning with you. I've put a redirect on. I'm going to try now to always put redirects on, so you can always go to different places. you'll be redirected to KG Reckless Sport. So you can go and join him for his show Thursday morning. And then actually going forward, if I'm ever doing a live, I'm just going to make sure I get redirected so we can share the love to all of our members of the UV family, whether it's KG, whether it's Minna, whether it's the Muppeteers, although I've got to make sure I tell James to put a redirect on. Yeah, that's true. But still, yes. So you'll be redirected all the way to KG. Stay locked in, and we'll speak to you again later on. I'm out of here. Peace.